Hey everyone, welcome. I'm so glad you're here because today we're going to talk about second grade homeschool curriculum. If you're new around here, I'm Megan. I have 3 kiddos. I have a 7-year-old daughter who's going into second grade. That's who we're talking about today. I also have a 4-year-old boy who's going into pre-K, and then I have a 1-year-old daughter who I always say is going into everything. She's getting into everything all the time. So we live out here on our little 3-acre piece of heaven, and we're about to get started with our homeschooling year. So a lot of times I'll share content about how we're fixing up our home, different DIY projects we're doing, and you can find all of that on this channel. But today I love homeschooling, and so I'm just going to tell you about what we're using in case it could be helpful to any of you. Now, this looks like a lot of things. Once you display it all out, my husband walked through there and he's like, wow, it looks like a lot. But once I break it down, I think you'll see it's not too many things. It's pretty easy to manage. So I'm gonna get started by sharing an overview of everything that's on the table, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper into what each piece is and how we use it for our homeschool. The subjects that we're doing for second grade this year are language arts, which includes reading, both learning to read and being read aloud to, reading aloud, however you say that. Learning to read and reading out loud. And then we've got spelling, we have phonics, we have writing, which is both handwriting and creative writing. And then we have math is kind of our other big focus, so language arts and math. And then somewhere down here we've got science, history, art, which are all kind of things. I don't have books for those. I don't have specific textbooks, things that we're doing, but they're sprinkled in with other things. As an overview, this kind of half of the table is all Sonlight, and that's their history, Bible, literature program. Then we have, for the other part of language arts, Abeka Language Arts, which we do just their phonics and language, and their writing with phonics, which is creative writing and handwriting. We have All About Reading, which is learning to read, and that's, we're doing level 3 this year. And then we have All About Spelling, and I have level 3 and level 4. Then we're doing math with The Good and the Beautiful, and so we're on math 2, and they just changed up their whole curriculum. I'll tell you more about that later. And then kind of as a supplement, I also have some math from Abeka. And then again, as a fun extra, because it's something that my daughter's interested in, we have a kind of a science, which is exploring nature with children. So now that we have kind of an overview of everything that's on the table, let's dive in a little more specifically to how I'm using each part of this. Sonlight is a massive program. It obviously has all of these books, and they call this their history, Bible, literature. We do Bible separately at a different time, so I don't use the Bible portion of this, but I do use history and literature. And this could be like the spine of your curriculum, and you can just add in language arts, which they have a language arts program, and math, and it would be a pretty robust curriculum. I guess that's kind of what we do with a little bit of tweaking. Anyway, so they have primarily these big books. So this is Usborne Time Traveler and the Book of Animal Poetry and A Child's History of the World. These kind of books you're going to read the whole year. You'll read the Usborne Book of World History. These are what you're going to read all year long. So you're going to read probably a page from Usborne World History, a page from Time Traveler, a poem from Animal Poetry every day. Or it might be, a story from Child History of the World, a page from Time Traveler, and Animal Poetry, a poem from Animal Poetry. Every day you'll read those. And then on top of that, they have read alouds. And so you'll read just one chapter of whichever read aloud you're going through. And this is really where I think this curriculum shines, is in their read aloud selection. The books are fabulous. We went through a different version of Sonlight last year and absolutely fell in love. you can combine kids into one Sonlight core. So my son, last year he was in preschool. I wasn't doing really any directed learning for him. He sat down through probably 90% of our read alouds because they were just excellent books to read together. So this year we're reading Charlotte's Web, Babe the Gallant Pig, The Children of Noisy Village, The Year of Miss Agnes, Little Pear, Mr. Popper's Penguins, Gooniebird Green, Understood Betsy. That's just a few of them. Detectives and Togas. I have more in the box, but it's just quality literature that kids will fall in love with. Last year, the books that they read, my kids just fell in love with the characters, and really I got most of them on Audible after so that they could listen to them again and again because they just loved the books. So this is the piece that really makes homeschooling beautiful to me. Getting to fall in love with these book characters with my kids, reading them excellent literature. I'm a huge fan of the Sarah McKenzie blog, podcast, the whole deal, where she's sharing beautiful books, Read Aloud Revival. If you haven't checked that out yet, go check it out. She has excellent resources, but reading aloud with your family is such a precious gift. So this is one of those things I want my homeschool to feel beautiful while we're in it, not to feel just like we're slogging through mountains and mountains of paperwork, but that it's a joy. This is one of those things that brings me joy. So with this, I also have the language arts portion of it, which is like the learning to read portion of it, what she is reading herself, because I bought it used and it came with that. So I have some readers as well, which are excellent readers. Big Ball of String, Surprises, Greg's Microscope, Frog and Toad, The Big Balloon Race, I think, yeah, The Big Balloon Race. Those are excellent. We won't follow the curriculum for those readers, but she'll read those readers throughout the year. Whenever it's time for her to do reading, she'll get to go, and I just like to have a big selection of readers for her to pick off the shelf whenever she wants. I also want to tell you, I got this whole set on Facebook Marketplace for, I think it was about $100. It might have been $150, but that's significantly less than you can get it on Sonlight's website. So it's older. It's not their most current version. Typically their most current versions don't change that much, but it is not the most up-to-date version, but it's totally gonna work for our family. So if you are on a tight budget and a budget crunch and you go to the Sonlight website and you think, ooh, I can't swing that right now, go check out Facebook Marketplace and see if there are any available. There are a few Facebook groups as well, like Sonlight Buy Sell Trade, that you might be able to pick up parts of the curriculum or even a whole set of the curriculum for significantly less than you could get it on Sonlight's website. Now, I love it. 100% it's worth it to buy it new, I think. We just didn't have that in the budget, and so I just thought I'd share that with you just in case you're anything like us. The next piece that I want to talk about is All About Reading. So we finished, let's see, All About Reading level 1, we finished that in kindergarten. All About Reading level 2 we did last year. So this is All About Reading level 3 that we're doing for 2nd grade. And this is a fantastic program. It's teaching you using multiple senses how to decode words. So there are kind of two different parts of learning language arts at this age. There's decoding, which is figuring out what the words say, segmenting words to figure out what they say, and then encoding, which is hearing the sounds of the words and putting that into letters, which is spelling. So this is the decoding portion of it. And it just breaks it down in a lovely way. If you've never taught reading before, I think that this program, it taught me how to teach reading. So when I had my kindergartner, she was my first kid, so I had no idea how to teach reading. This tells you everything to say. It walks you by step, shows you how to teach them how to use their fingers. It teaches the teacher how to teach. I think I already said that. Anyway, it's wonderful. So with this program, you have your instructor's guide, which guides you through every lesson, and there are several parts of the lesson. There are going to be flashcards that you'll go through with the different letter sounds and like blends, phonograms, things like that. And then we went ahead and got the letter tile app, which to me is way worth it and much easier to use than it. In the past, it came with a big whiteboard. You had to have like a 3-foot by 2-foot whiteboard full of these tiny little letter tiles that my 1-year-old would love to eat. So that's not gonna work. For us, we've got an iPad, we put the letter tile app on there, and it's wonderful. She feels like she gets to play a game in the middle of school because she got out the iPad, and we're just rearranging letters. It's really a pretty simple app, but it's ingenious. If you get this program, that may be a worthy add-on to you. So you mess with the letter tiles to learn about that encoding and decoding those words. Then they have an activity book, and it comes with this great big activity book, which is full of, the newer version is color, super colorful pictures, and I'll show you that more up close. But it has all these activities, and what I'll do a video about how I organize all my homeschool curriculum, but I cut all of this out ahead of time. I do not want to mess with that during the school day. I cut and prep this whole book, and I put it in a binder in little page protectors before the school year starts. It takes me probably an hour, maybe 2 hours. I'll turn on an episode of Survivor and just prep the whole thing so we don't have to mess with cutting it out in the middle of our school day. So that's another part of it. And then there are these readers. And these readers, last year at least, I have not looked through these readers yet, but we loved the readers last year. They're colorful, they're funny, they have interesting stories, and they're just a joy for the kids to read. My daughter is a good reader, but she's pretty reluctant. She loves being read to. She has that kind of brain, but she doesn't want to sit down and read because it's easier to just look at the pictures or just have mom read it. So we're still kind of working on that. These books helped quite a bit. It also helps that the words on the page are kind of surprising, and they add to the story instead of having the whole story displayed in the pictures. So if you just look at the pictures, you would miss some of the story by not reading the words, which is different than some of the like leveled readers that you'll find. You can pretty much tell the whole story by just looking at the pictures. These aren't like that, so they might find surprises if they actually read the words, which was a game changer for my daughter. She's like, oh, I wouldn't have known that if I had just looked at the picture. So that really helped her want to read the words in these books. They also they're a really good length, so the kids won't get overwhelmed when you're reading a story. And the other thing that I loved that I encountered with another language arts program that we tried is that they know how to decode every word that's in that story. If you follow kind of the plan of the curriculum, then there are no surprises in the words. They know how to break all of those words down. They've been taught. So when we were using a different curriculum, she'd be reading through her little reader book that came with it, and she'd have no idea. Like, it would have long vowel sounds with the silent E at the end. She'd have no idea how to read that yet because we hadn't covered it in the main course, which didn't make any sense to me. But this does not do that. So that's all about reading. Then we have all about spelling, which is kind of the other portion, the encoding portion, where they learn how to take the words that they've read, that they've heard, and put them onto paper. And All About Spelling, it's a little bit simpler of a program than All About Reading in the way that it's set up. You've got the flashcards, you work with the letter tiles, and usually that's it. So we use the letter tile app for this as well, which is really handy. It's one thing, all on the iPad, and this has worked really well. So last year we went through, you don't start All About Spelling until I think All About Reading level 2. I think you start those at about the same time. So we finished level, we started level 1 in her kindergarten year and didn't get very far. So then we pushed it to like the last half of the year, if I'm remembering this right. So we mostly did level 2 last year and then got about halfway through level 3. So I'm thinking this year we'll get through the other half of level 3 and then start on level 4. So this doesn't follow like you wouldn't do one of these books through a whole school year. And that kind of caught me off guard because we were like halfway through our school year. I was like, oh, we're done with our spelling book. So I had to go get another spelling book. But anyway, so you might go through more than one of these books in a school year. Now they have, let's see, 28 steps or lessons, but we will spend a week on each of these steps. So most of the time, I kind of treat each one like a spelling list. So we'll spend a whole week on vowel teams AI and AY and just go through the lesson, like one part of the lesson each day. That's a little less overwhelming than trying to do multiple things in a day. So that's all about spelling. So you're gonna have to decide for your homeschool how you wanna do phonics. All About Reading may actually be enough phonics for your homeschool. I found that having a little extra phonics help and coming from a little bit of a different perspective is really helpful for my daughter to kind of review it in two different ways. So we got the Abeka Phonics and Language. And this is a lot of, it's just worksheet pages, this book is, but it goes over phonics and beginning grammar in a way that's really helpful. So we decided to go ahead and add this. It's probably not totally necessary, and if we're having a bad day, I just skip it. It's not a big deal. And we just come back to the concepts later because they do a lot of review in here. So I don't push this, but it's just there to help us when we need it. But they're writing the phonics. Now this is all unbound because of the way that I organize things, which again, I'll have to do a video on that sometime. But writing with phonics, it starts off with handwriting, and this is cursive. I haven't 100% decided that we're gonna do cursive yet. I probably should decide that really soon. But it's starting with cursive. I think that's gonna work out fine. And it starts off with letters and like easy sentences, easy copywriting sentences. And then it gets into more of just copy work, copy the poem, copy words. There's some more paragraphs. And then it has creative writing here as well. This one is write a story about a special party, and they've got a whole page for them to write a story. And then it kind of integrates. They're not doing copy work every day. They're not doing creative writing every day. It kind of goes back and forth, which I really like. Okay, now math. Let's talk about math. So we've used the Good and the Beautiful for kindergarten and first grade. They actually just changed their whole math program. Now they have Simply Good and Beautiful Math, which is free for levels 1 through 5. So if you just want to check it out, go download it and see if it would work for your kids. I really like how it incorporates stories into their math and beautiful pictures. It's got some classic artwork in it. They have really fun activities. So it's something that makes math engaging for my daughter, and math is not her strong suit. It's not her favorite thing to do. My son, it's his favorite thing to do, hands down. But math is not her very favorite thing to do, so the fact that this makes it engaging for her is a real plus. Last year I did find that she didn't quite get enough practice with with the rote memory things, I guess, that you need to have for math. They focus a lot more on like the concepts behind math, which I think is actually really helpful because she's not going to be stuck if she can't remember how to add 6 plus 5. She's got 4 different strategies for figuring out how to do that, which when you get into higher math, if you have more strategies, that's really helpful. But when you're in lower math, you also just kind of need to memorize things. So we are doing math too, but a lot of times I won't do so you have like a lesson, then you have a worksheet. Let's see if I can find this. So here's a lesson, then you have a student worksheet, and then they have a bonus activity. We almost always skip the bonus activity. And instead, I gave her a sheet from Abeka Arithmetic. Now these are, Abeka goes fast. through math. So I think just doing this on its own would be really frustrating to her, but as some extra practice, it was actually really helpful. This was another one of those things that, like, if we got busy, we dropped it, no big deal, but it really helped us to have just a little bit of extra review on some specific topics, concepts, especially the memory things, and then things like money and place value and different things like that, time. It was really helpful to have some extra practice in there. We added in the Abeka math worksheets about halfway through our homeschool year, and I saw a real increase in her basic math skills. So we're gonna try that again this year. We'll see. Again, it's so fluid because I'm the teacher. Halfway through the year, if it's too much, I take things away. If it's not enough, I add things. That's just how homeschool works. I'm sure you know that as a homeschool mom. So I just want to say thanks once again for joining me today. I love talking about homeschool, love talking about curriculum. So this is a real joy for me to be able to put together this video. So let me know if you'd like to see other videos with content like this. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Bye.